I've been van curious for a long time, and I finally took the plunge and have been traveling in this 159 converted Ram ProMaster camper van for the last 2 weeks. And it has been amazing because I can go places and do things that I could never do before, but it's not the same as living in an RV. This thing can fit into a regular parking space. And so there are pros and cons. And today I'm going to tell you all about it. Happy Sunday, everybody. It's Robin with Creativity RV. I hope you're all doing well out there. I am having a blast traveling inside of this camper van. Now, if you guys have been following my channel, you know that I've had many different RVs, but I've never had a camper van or a schoolie or a Class A. I started out with one of those kind of schwanky, expensive B-plus vans by Leisure Travel Van, and had to give that up because of mechanical issues and flooding. And then I went to a Class C by Tiffin where the walls separated. And then I went to a fifth wheel and then a truck camper. And for the last year and a half, I've been traveling full time in a little sweet baby Airstream that's 16 feet long and can be pulled by a Jeep. Now, I admit that whole time I was looking at camper vans because they just seem so easy. You can just jump in the front seat and go without any hassle. But when I've looked at all of the different manufacturers that do custom builds or factory camper vans, it just seems so daunting. Either you get one from the factory that has all the same problems that all my other rigs had, or you have to spend $150,000, $175,000, $200,000 to get a good quality professional camper van built. And look, I know a lot of people out there like to build out their own vans. I am not one of them because mine would be like 2 milk cartons with a board on top and no heat. The idea of putting in flooring and insulation and lighting and power and a furnace and furniture and a bed and a toilet and a galley, that all seemed really overwhelming to me. But then a couple of years ago, I met somebody at a meetup that had the sweetest little camper van I had ever seen. And when she told me how much it was to have it built out, I was shocked. It was like nothing compared to everything I had been looking at. And so I did a video on that, and I'll link it up here for you guys so you can see it. The next year, I went to visit that manufacturer named WAYFARER Vans. And the crew over there is so rad, you guys. It's just a group of real people who love to get outside. They love nature, and they have this amazing business model that makes their vans simple and affordable and fast to have built out. So I'll tell you about that in just a minute in case you're looking for a camper van. But first, let me tell you what I did on my travels with this van so far. I feel like I've been everywhere. I feel like I've lived in this thing for a year, and I am loving it. Okay, so when Wayfarer said I could have the van for 2 weeks, the first place I wanted to go was Moab. Now, I've gone to Moab every year I've been on the road, but I've never been to Arches National Park because I've heard that the parking inside of the park at the trailheads could be really tight for RVs, and that's true, by the way. And so the first thing I did was I drove out to Moab to visit Arches National Park. It was still kind of snowy in Colorado, and I had to go through some windy roads. And the first thing I'll tell you is that this 159 ProMaster handled like a champ. And then my first night, I pulled into a rest area, and for the first time ever in 7 years, I was able to pull into a regular parking space to spend the night instead of between 2 loud semis. Then I took my favorite route into Moab, which takes you down the Colorado River through the canyon to get into Moab. But one of the things that has bugged me about this route since I've been on the road is that in my bigger rigs, I'm kind of slow, and people do like to go fast on that road. They want to get to their rafting or their hiking or whatever, and they can be bumper humpers. The next thing I really noticed about the van was that I could pull over into the tiniest little spots, like just the size of a car. And I didn't really have to worry if it was really uneven, like in an RV where everything flies out of your cabinets. I could pull right over and let everybody pass, and that was a win. But then, you guys, the best thing yet about having this size of a camper van was that I was able to camp for the first time in 7 years right on the Colorado River at a campground that was first come, first serve in basically a tent-only spot. When I pulled into the campground, you can see that it was rigs that were 22 feet or under. So it was vans, tents and truck campers. And immediately my inclination was to pull in sideways like you do with an RV. And then I was like, wait a minute. I'm going to do that van life thing and back in. And I opened up these back doors right onto the Colorado River with the rocks and was able to sit down right by the river and really enjoy the view. And that was just game changing for me. I was able to set up camp without putting out a slide or putting out a block. I just took out my camp chair and sat on the river, enjoyed a campfire, and enjoyed the view. And while I was there, I watched so many people go by in RVs that could not find places to camp. It is like the Hunger Games there in high season. And on the Colorado River, most of those campgrounds are 25 feet or under. I think there's one or two that accommodate rigs 35 feet, but you have to reserve those far in advance. So in the past, the only thing I've been able to do in Moab is go out and boondock, really. And then if I had a tow car or a friend, we could go into one of the parks. But usually I didn't. And so I never left because I didn't want to lose my spot. But this time, all I did was pack up in the morning at dawn, and I went to Arches and went right up the hill and was able to park in all of the Moab cramped parking lots. Now, if you guys are going to any of the national parks soon, know that a lot of them, including Arches, are so crowded now that they have something called timed entry. So you have to actually reserve a window where you have an hour to get there to go into the park. That's how crowded it is. I decided to go before 7, before that starts. And even then, in a lot of these parking lots at the trailheads, there was 1 or 2 spots and no spots for RVs. And if there were, people in cars took them. When the trip to Moab was over, all I had to do was throw my camp chair in the back and go. It was so easy to break camp. But when I did, I ran into some really high wind gusts that were hitting me against the side, like 30, 35 miles an hour. Now, in all the rigs I've had, I probably would have pulled over and waited it out because that is really no fun unless you absolutely have to get somewhere. But it was really not a problem inside of this 159 ProMaster. It wasn't fun. I had both hands on the steering wheel and I could feel myself getting rocked, but I was still able to go all the way back to Colorado to camp in the National Forest. So now let me take you into the back and give you a tour of this sweet Wayfarer camper van. Now, when you choose a camper van, there's really 3 chassis or shells that you choose from. There's the Mercedes Sprinter, the Ram ProMaster like the one that I'm in, and a Ford Transit. Now, I know there are some other options and people will build out almost everything, but those are the 3 main choices that people use. Wayfarer does builds on the Ram ProMaster like this one and the Ford Transit. With those 2 types of chassis, they've got 4 choices. I'll show you here on their website. I'll put the link below so that you guys can click it and go over and see for yourself. They make it so simple. All you do is choose which chassis you want and which one of the builds you want. I'm in the Walt, which is the 159, which is the longest one that they do. You can see it's the high top. And these builds start at $24,000, which is really rad. But I'll tell you, this camper van is not for everybody. It doesn't have all the bells and whistles that a lot of the really pricey camper vans have, but that's not Wayfarer's business model. Wayfarer is run by a crew of great people who really love nature and they want to get outdoors and they want other people to get outdoors without having to have all the maintenance and stress and expense of a more expensive camper van build. Their builds are a tool that help people get outside. They're still high quality, but they're simple. So if you're looking for a schwanky camper van with recliners and a giant TV and a luxury shower, this is not it. This is a simple, high quality, modular build. A lot of the things that you see in here can literally be moved with a wrench. You can take the galley, for example, and move it over here, or take the boot boxes and move them over there. In fact, here's a clip that I recorded from their website that shows their owner, Ian, doing just that. If you go over there, there's lots of videos that show you all of the different configurations that you can do in here. I think of a Wayfarer build almost like a template, like a van build that gets you out on the road that then you can make your own, like my friend did. My friend that had the Wayfarer that I first discovered, I thought was so beautiful because she put her own personal style into her van. I literally thought it was a $150,000 build, and it wasn't. You get so much that is just standard. They do the ceilings, they do the floors, they do the walls. You get these insulated covers on the windows. They do the puck lights in the ceiling. You get a galley, you get boot boxes, you get the bed, and there's also a Dometic toilet and a Dometic refrigerator and a furnace. Let me start up at the front with the cab. There is a curtain that comes down so you can stealth camp at night. It's also insulated so it keeps the heat or the cold weather out. So you drop that at night. But during the day, you can swivel those chairs around and work in them. You can sit in the captain's chair, and there's a pop-up extension on the countertop here that you can work on. You can turn the chairs towards each other. I did that a lot, and just kind of lounge out. Behind the captain's chair is a little Dometic refrigerator. It worked great. Now let me show you the galley. It's really simple. It has a good countertop space and a sink and a pop-up extension, but the water that comes out of the sink, you pump out. There's no component there that could break. Now, you can make it your own and put it in a regular household faucet, no problem. But I kind of like this because the less stuff there is, the less stuff there is to break. And I tell you, I calculated that in my first 2 years on the road with my first 2 rigs, I spent 25% of my time in repair shops. So I've really changed my idea about what I need on the road. And the pump sink didn't bother me at all. Then below that, they put in 2 5-gallon canisters. One was full of fresh water and the other one caught the dishwater. And when that's full, you just dump it outside. I'll tell you guys, I haven't even done that yet because in 2 weeks, I have not used the 5 gallons of water because all I'm doing is dishes. Now, your next question might be, where's the shower? There is not a shower in this camper van. Now, when I was first on the road, that would have bothered me, but now it doesn't at all because I've learned that I actually prefer a campground shower or going to Planet Fitness. That's because I'm in a little 16-foot baby Airstream now that has a wet bath. And frankly, going to Planet Fitness or a campground shower is more comfortable. And so that's exactly what I did in this van. I went to the aquatic center in Moab and I went to Planet Fitness's and I did 1 campground shower. And that worked just fine for me. And again, that means that I'm not towing as much water in here. So the gas mileage is going to be better. And I don't have to dump any tanks. Speaking of which, over here inside of this boot box, I'll lift it up for you so you can see, is a Dometic toilet. I had never used one before. It's super easy. Personally, I prefer an OGO composting toilet. I'm big on those, but you can choose whatever you like and put it in here, or you can get the Dometic through them and they will put it in for you. Then, of course, this giant door slides open and the windows on this side and this side open up for a breeze. And then behind me, there's seating for 3 and a lagoon table that swings around. And I worked a lot over here, just sitting on one boot box and then pulling the table out and putting my feet up on the other and working. And let me show you the simple way that they do power in here. Inside of this box over here is a Yeti Link power box. Now, I know people call it a solar generator, but I hate that name because it's not a generator. There's 200 watts of solar on the roof, and the Yeti is also linked up to the engine. There's a battery-to-battery charger. So when the sun is out, it's charging this box, and when I'm driving, it's charging the box, and everything in here runs off of the box that's inside of this chair. The lights, the fans, the furnace, everything. And I was able to charge my laptop and my devices on there, no problem. And I'll tell you what, with that 200 watts and the engine charging it while I was driving, I never got under 75% full on that Yeti. Even when it was a little bit chilly in here and I was using an electric blanket that was plugged into it and I was charging my Wi-Fi and I was charging my laptop and my phone and my cameras, it worked like a champ. And I realized that one of the really big benefits of having a simple build like this is that you don't need like a $10,000 power system in here to go out and dry camp and boondock because you are not having to charge as many components. Literally everything in here runs off that box. Having lived in RVs for the last 7 years, I was really surprised how much storage they got into this camper van. They've got cabinets up above, they've got the galley storage, they've got boot boxes with huge storage, and a shelf. But in the back, underneath the bed, is a huge basement storage area. So if you've got surfboards or big dogs or skiing equipment, or you want to help your buddy move, or you have mountain bikes, the storage area in here is killer. So I don't know if you guys can tell, but the sun is starting to go down here in the forest where I am, but I'm headed into a city because one of the reasons that I've considered a camper van in the past is that I want to be able to go into more cities and see museums and stealth camp at night. Now, I had a B-plus van before and I did some stealth camping, but still that was 25 feet. This one is under 20 feet. So I'm going to head there now, put down the insulated window coverings, which magnet onto the side of the wall so no light escapes, and stealth camp. And then tomorrow I'm going to enjoy the city. So I had an idea of what living in a camper van would be like, and this did meet a lot of my expectations, but I was surprised by a few things. First of all, the storage in here was way bigger than I thought it was going to be. And I was surprised when you swivel around the chairs and look to the back, it really seems like a studio apartment. In fact, it's the same size as my Airstream as far as the living space goes, but it was a lot easier to hook up and go. So what's in the future for me? I don't know, but this trip has given me a lot to think about. I just had the best time traveling in this van. It made everything so easy, and I just enjoyed the travel more. So we'll see what happens. But I'd like to thank Wayfarer for giving me the chance to experience it. If you guys want to check them out, please do. They're just rad, real people. You can call them, you can talk to them. Their link is down below. And again, they have one of the best websites I've ever seen. You can go in and look at the configurations and see the van and the price right there, order it, and go pick it up. I'm going to head out. I'll see you guys next week with an all-new video. Until then, everybody out there, have happy travels and be free.